you and I need to have a chat. It's an important one. Because if you're not bringing home the deer heart, it means you're not donating it to me, and it means you're not eating it. And you're missing out on one of the most elegant cuts of meat in the deer. So we're going to walk through how to do deer heart today on Outdoor Ohio. Okay, the first step, you want to make sure that you cut off all the garbage that comes off the top of the heart. Leaving this much is okay for right now. All right, get it all out of there. Now, the next thing you want to do is get it a good rinse. Try to get all the coagulated blood out of the ventricles and stuff. You may not be able to get it all out. So what I recommend next is to get a little water in a bowl. Salt that water hard. Get it so the salt is diluted. Get your good salt water going. And then fill it to the top with your heart in it. Okay? Let that soak for anywhere between 12 and 24 hours. And make sure you soak it in the fridge. The salt in the water will help draw the blood out, even the coagulated stuff in the center of the ventricles and stuff. So the next thing you want to do is just kind of clean it up a little bit more. If there's some of this gristly stuff on the top that you don't want, go ahead and get rid of it. There we go. If you want to trim off some of the white, this is just the same thing as fat inside the deer, and it can not taste great, give it a gamey taste. It doesn't keep well as well. So, I mean, you can try to trim some of this off. You don't need to go crazy with it because I'll be honest, the best way to eat a deer heart is within probably 24 to 48 hours. You want to eat them fresh. You don't want to freeze them. They'll get more rubbery. This is a different texture to begin with, but you're going to love it. Okay, so now let's start talking about ways to make this stuff, all right? One of the things that I like to do is go right down the center, like that. Isn't that a beautiful cut of meat? Now you can take out, again, some of this tissue here. There we go. And that's looking pretty good. All right, so one of the ways that I like to do it is go straight across, slice it like such. Okay, we'll set this aside for later. Now we got these really nice slices. That's that hard stuff keeping it together. There we go. Look at that. Oh. You think backstrap is good? Man, you got to be eating the heart. All right. So, now one recipe that I was told that I actually really like is all you got to do is do that and then toss on a little bit of Lowry's. Now, everybody seasons their deer their own way, and that's fine. But I think you'll be surprised at how satisfying a little Lowry's actually can be. All right, I've got my pan turned up to 8. It's 2 notches over medium. Now what I like to do is put in a little, I use grapeseed oil. It's got a high smoke point. It'll handle higher heats. You don't need a lot. The reason I'm using oil is so that when I put in my butter, the butter doesn't burn. All right, move that around a little bit, get it all ready to go. Now while that's doing that, I'll take my deer heart and put it Lowry's down. Now you can slice it thinner than I sliced it too if you like. There we go. And one more. Right on top of that butter. Yeah. Now, the other thing that you can do that I like to do is once it's in the pan or on the grill, whatever you prefer, you can do the other side. I like to throw a little garlic powder on it. On this side. Could never go wrong with garlic. I would not add any more salt at this point, but if you want to, you can add a little pepper as well. I like pepper on my meat. And then we let it cook for a couple of minutes and then turn it over. The thickness of the slices is going to help you decide how long you're going to cook it on one side. I happen to like my deer meat medium rare on the inside, but I like it to be seared on the outside. That's why I'm doing a little higher heat. So that way I know I'm going to get a good sear on it. It's going to be nice and cooked and nice and warm, but I'll still have some pink in the center. I had a friend of mine that insisted that wild game needed to be well done. That's a fallacy. Just because it's wild doesn't mean you need to cook it any different than anything else. Beef and deer are a red meat. They carry their bacteria on the outside. So as long as you have the outside cooked and seared, it doesn't matter what's on the inside. Now chicken and pork are a little bit different. You got to make sure that's cooked all the way through. But beef and deer, red meats like that, as long as the outside is brown, the inside is safe. Matter of fact, I know some people that actually eat their meat raw. I wouldn't do that. Now, one of the other things you need to know though is if you ground your deer, what you're doing is taking what's on the outside and moving it on the inside. So if you ground your meat, then yes, you need your meat well done. It needs to be brown all the way through, no red. All right, that's done enough for me. It's really hard to overcook deer heart, just like it is tenderloins, but it can be done. And deer heart already has a different texture. It's a little bit on the rubbery side. But your pan's not done yet because you still have to add eggs. Now we're talking breakfast. That's how it's done. Now you might decide to use the fine china. Around here I don't have any preconceptions like that. We're just going to cut in. I used the word rubbery a couple times. That's not a fair assessment. This is just a really good steak. Has a different texture. It'll take a little getting used to, but it's not unpleasant. It's delicious. If you're not eating your deer heart, give it to me. Put it in dry ice. I'll give you my address. In the meantime, you should probably know there are more ways to skin a cat, carve a deer heart. I'll show you that after breakfast.